Welcome to the Highly Effective Man podcast, hosted by former Navy SEAL turned life and fitness coach. I'm your host, JP Bolwahnn. This podcast is your resource for unlocking the healthiest, most productive, and highly effective man within you. Let's go. What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Highly Effective Man podcast. I'm your host, JP Bolwahnn. And today I'm joined by a good friend, a guy who pulls no punches, former Navy SEAL. He's an elite coach. He's a speaker, an absolute savage, Ray Kashkar. You've seen him on TV. You've heard him on other podcasts. But today we're going to dive deep into what men need to know more than ever: discipline, leadership, grit. Ray, welcome to the show.
Thank you. And for those listening, I knew JP before he had a mustache. So, JP, how old were you when we met, man?
Shoot, man. It was back in 96, probably. I showed up to 97. I showed up to the team, with a black eye.
You were a little whip. I know. It's a little brawler, little scrapper. I remember that. Yeah. But
yeah, and I was 19. And it's funny. I've got probably like 3 or 4 like good memories of you, that just kind of like stand out. And one of them was, I'm walking down the hall of the team, and I don't know if you were on deployment or you were gone or whatever, but then I see this like guy who's just maybe a little bit taller than me, but just like buff dude, great hair, walking down, but it looked like you just had like a mission going on. And I was just like, who is this guy? Oh, man.
Yeah, I miss the good old days. Now I'm 53, getting gray. We were having a conversation before, and, I use duct tape to stay together, but this is still working. So as long as this is going, man, I'm unstoppable,
Yeah. Mindset is everything, right? Oh, man. But yeah, the good old days. So one of the questions, and this is kind of like to open this up, right? But like, what's something about you that most people don't know but need to hear?
That absolutely came from nothing. I came from like a very dysfunctional home. Statistically, they say that more graduates of BUDS training, basic underwater demolition, I don't know if you've ever heard of it, comes from young men who come from a separated family and were wrestlers, hardship. And truth be told, I started with, I can't remember what class you were. I was 200, but I started with BUDS class 200 and graduated with 200. But a lot of people don't know, Baltimore native. I mean, I grew up in a very volatile, abusive relationship. And I think that's where I forged the mindset, I mean, I think we all have it.
Yeah.
Some people, it comes too natural, But I think others, they have to, they have to pull out the piece of steel and forge it and figure it out. And that usually comes through pain and suffering. And I dealt with a lot of that. So, and what people don't know right now, they see me on the Instagram as sometimes the bad guy, the yeller, but, we're changing a lot of lives. And I will tell everybody, I'm not everybody's cup of tea, but I'm a cup of tea. I know, like my wife said the same thing. She's like, why am I too late now? But no, it's, I could take me, you, Jocko, other people we know, we can all get on a stage and say the same damn thing, but it's going to come across a different way. Mine just happens to be a little bit more abrupt and abrasive, but my target audience, the people that seek me out, are the ones that need that. Like, I don't work off of positive reinforcement. I want negative. I feed off of the negative because I've learned how to funnel and fuel it and turn it into positivity. You sit here and tell me I do a good job on things. Like if we were to do one of your CrossFit workouts and you tell me I do a good job, I'm going to tell you you're a freaking liar, because I know you're smashing, because I know what kind of shape you've always been in, that kind of shape. And I'm in good shape too, man. But there's just, that's your wheelhouse. Mine's push-ups. I mean, we all have our wheelhouse, but
yeah.
I see you cleaning all the time. I'm like, God, my arms I hurt just watching you clean, man. Awesome. So,
well, my knees are screaming nowadays.
Yeah. I think people just need to understand, like, what you don't know for me is, the suffering is what created the success. And for those who that even know me, right? I mean, do pretty well for myself, not just from a monetary standpoint, but I like who I am now. Like, for the longest time, I didn't, I didn't really like myself in the teams.
Yeah.
We were jerks in the teams. We're dicks. We're cocky. We were.
Yeah, we were young, just
We're young, had pocket full of money, great hair. You had great hair too. We were chiseled, when we were younger. I mean, women, it was awesome. But as you get older, priorities change, right? And
yeah.
but the one thing that stayed the constant with me has always been this mindset and the way I tell people if you want to learn how to play chess, you got to master checkers. I'm in the art of mastering the normal because once you master that, then you can move on to the exceptional. Tim Grover says it best, he's like, master average to become a savage, so
Yeah,
many
I like that.
try to master the advanced level stuff when they don't even have a handle on the basics, right? 7
Yeah.
points performance, just the basics, right? You need to stick to the basics, the muscle memories.
Yeah. And I like it that you mentioned Tim Grover because I feel like there's a lot of coaches out there and there's a lot of people out there, but it's a lot more of the positive mindset, the more like I'll hold your hand type thing where, his book Relentless and those others, like, no, like you need to fucking dig in and get after it. Right. Like
That's the dark
it's not
side.
sugar coated. Right. And that's what I like about you too, is like, it's like you're going to get in somebody's face and you're going to tell them what's up.
Yeah, Mr. Grover don't play games. He's a friend and a mentor. I mean, I consider for. I mean, I can call the guy. I actually have his number. I call him and he picks up, but he's always on. That's what I love about the successful. He says it's, we've heard it. The switch, you flip it on, you flip it off. He's like, no, I said in mother podcast, you flip it on and you tape it on. What we did, what we do now, I have no off button. There can be no off button. I don't have days off. Even when I'm sick, I figure out a way. That's what creates, that's what puts us at a different frequency than other people. Doesn't mean we're better than them. Just means right now we're willing to, I honestly think it's suffer more. Like, I love to suffer. Grover suffers. Like, I opened up for him in an event. It was intimidating as hell. We sat in the front row watching me. But,
Nice.
what we do? We shoot, move, and we communicate, and we get it done. And I got it done. There was some constructive criticism afterwards because, hey, I'm always trying to sharpen the blade, right?
Yeah, of course.
Lord.
Yeah.
And of course, you're going to take it. You're getting free advice from someone of that caliber who spoke on that many stages. That's great. I mean, hell, look at Redmond, Jason Redmond. He just won. Did you see what he just won?
No, I didn't.
Grant Cardone's Speak Off in the nation. He won it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, man.
Awesome.
I think it was like 10,000 people. Jason won. I mean, we walk into a room and we're different. We've all, like the individuals that do what we've done in some fashion, we're different. We're not understood. A lot of times we're not liked, but the people that need to understand me and the people that I have to have understand me do. The people that don't, I just don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
When I go back home, people are like, oh, look at you, pulling up in the G-Wagon and you and your wife are, yeah, man, but I'm at the gym every damn day. Yeah, I'm selling on Christmas. You see the rewards of the watches and all that stuff. You don't see the 20-hour days I've put in and missing everything.
Yeah.
I've missed 3 lifetimes to get where I am right now financially. And now as I've gotten older, the mindset has switched to, hey, how can we stay home and create and generate monetary value for, now I just want to get old and lazy, but old lazy is just going to the gym, doing jujitsu, hanging out, and being in bed by 10 o'clock. It's changed. Is back in the day, I wouldn't even see you out of the bar until 10:30, 11 o'clock, and we burned it down.
Oh, yeah. That's funny, man. Like, I think that our lives are pretty similar in a similar trajectory in a way that, like, I grew up in a family that was kind of dysfunctional. My stepdad used to beat me, that type of thing. And I think that forged a lot of strength in me. It was like, one day I was just like, no, I'm done having this. And I fought back. And, ever since that day happened, he never even touched me after that. And then just being short guy in the teams, Smurf crew, all that, it's like, there's a lot of similarities there. And now with like the coaching and just trying to be home more, like I was traveling a lot with CrossFit, teaching around the world, and I have two young girls, and I was like, man, I just want to be home, and like, how can I do this at home and still help people? And that's why I created the highly effective man,
Yeah.
and it's just all about trying to help guys to get better and just be the best person they can be, no matter what they're doing. Right? It doesn't have to be like you're not trying to become a SEAL. You're just trying to be the best person you can be. Right?
There are so many similarities. We got out of teams. I want to help people. You want to help people. The higher caliber, the name that you came up with, you're trying to elevate people to the next level. I mean, it's just wired in our DNA, and it's a lot of people like always wonder, like, why are you trying to help everybody? I'm like, well, or I don't know if you've ever got it, but I would get a lot of negative criticism, and I'm like, hey, listen, I'm open to have a constructive, conversation with you, but my question is, just be ready. I'm going to ask you, what are you doing? Because if you're not creating things and helping other people, you're either part of the problem or part of the solution, right? So, a lot of guys that I know in the teams and our line of work, even afterwards, they'll go into law enforcement, or they'll go, first responder of some sort, or they want to get into coaching, because for all those years, we've had to do what we had to do to help people. You really don't get, when we were in, you didn't get any recognition for being a SEAL. You weren't like, I've got like 12 pictures of being a team guy. Like, you didn't do all that shit that they do now.
No. You come from the home from deployment. There's no parade or nothing like that. It's just like you walk into the team, drop your gear, and you go home.
Yep, that was it. No one was waiting for me. I never got a couple of the guys got the overcoats from the ladies with they had to get any of that. That was just me, and I just get to the ride to the team and then figure out how I was going to go get to wherever I left. I guess I left my truck there or whatever it was back in the day, and go figure out where the hell I'm going to live,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, even like in our younger years, you kind of helped me out, because you were kind of like that team guy that I was like looking to. And like I can remember you were one of the guys that put the trident on my chest. I remember I can remember laying on the bench and just getting it pounded in. I was like, oh gosh,
I still got
so much to where just the little trident pins were bending.
Yep. I got my first one right there hanging on the wall. I had to actually cut the pins off.
Yeah. And then another memory I have is
right there
when you saved me from getting my ass kicked, or maybe just getting into a fight. I don't know. It was some kind of team guy party. And, like in Virginia Beach, it's like you go, like team guys hang out together all the time.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, I pissed another team guy off. And, I'm a young guy, new guy. And he wanted to fight me like there in the party. And then you took me out to like the balcony or whatever. And you're like, no. It's like, cool down. And then we ended up leaving. And I can't remember the guy's name to this day, but maybe a year later, it was like a SEAL reunion on the East Coast. And I'm sitting there talking with like somebody else, and he comes up, he's like, yeah, you remember me? I'm like, no, I don't remember you. Anyways, it was the guy that wanted to fight me that night, but he had still, whatever reason, still wanted to fight. But it was you that got me out of there and, prevented me from like getting into trouble that I didn't need at the time.
Somebody probably did the same damn thing for me, so that's why I did it for you.
Yeah. But
it's the cycle. It's the cycle of a frog, man. We do that. We get dialed in and we do dumb shit again.
Yeah. So talking about some struggles and mindset, what would you say is the toughest moment in your life? Not necessarily like in the teams or in the SEALs, but personally that tested you as a man.
I think the youngest was when my father was murdered at 11. And I don't want to go down the spiritual path because it's newer to me, and I'm starting to believe, but I'm a guy that needs answers, and it's like, why did you allow this to happen and this to happen, but yet you'll let this person and this person that are complete pieces of trash live forever? So the death of my father was pretty hard. Obviously I was young. And as we gotten older, I think the hardest thing for me to deal with, another thing, I'm going to just switch to a whole different narrative. I know it's going to sound crazy, but the first one was getting into the teams because of the just the doubting, the this negative talk. You're never going to make it. Everybody said that, to doing it, but it was actually then getting out, transitioning into the civilian
Mhm.
world. It's hard and it's scary. It's not hard to excel, but when you've been in the teams for 12 years and you go out and you can't talk to people like the way you talk to people in the teams. And,
It's
you
true.
know, there, certain teams have more camaraderie than the others, but I wasn't used to people backstabbing and doing things like that. So it just caused a lot of almost depression, when I got out. I was very depressed. And, because I wanted to do something beside the SEAL teams. I was like, I wanted to try to get into business. I ended up contracting, working with the same guys that I knew that got out of the team. So it's like, hell, I'm back in the teams, but now I'm making $1,000 a day. This is awesome. So,
Yeah, yeah.
and then when I transitioned, moving forward, when I transitioned out of the security industry altogether and said, you know what, I'm going to be an entrepreneur, you know, entrepreneur. And I think probably as far as just being scared shitless, that minus a couple of things that happen in teams, that's when I was scared the most because now I didn't know who the enemy was. There wasn't three square meals. There wasn't, and it was all up to me. And I spent a life relying on other people, Yeah, we're badasses, but like in a bar fight, when I screened for green team, they're be like, hey, you and JP are in a bar fight. You guys are back to back. You're surrounded by 15 people. If you get a free shot, do you run out and try to get the platoon or do you stay there and fight? You know what the answer is. You got to stay there and fight.
Right.
You can't leave a man behind. But next thing you wake up after 20 some years, you're older and a little grayer and you're looking around and you're going, holy shit, there's no one here but me now. Right. And now you have a wife, you have a son, and all the pressure's on you versus, if we get into a tick, troops in contact, and we have to take contact or something, I know you got, if you're here or you got my back, I know that I'm okay. Now it's
Yeah.
like, holy shit, I've got to take up the whole perimeter. I've got to, pick it up. And I mean, the great thing about, type A personalities is we pick shit up fast, and, my biggest fear is just, being average and dying and dying for nothing. So, I just said, screw it. I'm jumping in. I'm diving in. I'm not even going to see how deep the water is and let's crush it. And we're not looking back, man. I mean, it's busy, it's hectic, but you have to learn how to control. I've learned as I've gotten older how to control the tone and the pace. Like I don't let it control me. Like whenever you're coaching someone and they're doing CrossFit and they start getting crazy, a coach told me once, control the breathing, don't let it control you.
Yeah.
So I'm a control freak. I try to control as much as I can. And you think about it. I control what time I get up. I get up at 5 o'clock. I control what time I go to bed. I control what I eat. Which I control how I lift, which controls, 99% of, unless I get ill, how I look. What I can't control is other things. If I get in the car and I'm driving and someone hits me, I can't control that. So I try to, the mindset I have is I am going to control as many little things as I can in my life to live as long and as healthy as I can. Right. I see people in the gym that are overweight. I used to just be like, oh, look, you're fat. But now I'm like, I want to know the story of how they got behind. How did you get so far behind? What physical, mental, and emotional distress, turmoil got you here? Or is it just a medical condition that who knows? So, and like I said, as I've gotten older, I've really taken a step back and try to look in versus, I used to just look out and go, holy shit, whatever, you know, but,
Yeah.
and I think that's really helped me, just my tonality. You like, I'm like a bottle of wine, even though I got whiskey, the older it gets, the better it gets,
Nice.
sometimes, right? So I think people need to take that approach, like I used to just assume all the time. That was the thing as a team. In a SEAL teams, we react. Right? We strike, strike hard, strike fast. Cobra Kai, right? That's pretty much Cobra Kai was made after us. Right? Really was. But then I just had a course where I have Chuck Liddell, who's a good friend of mine, where if you see Chuck will step back and hit somebody. He's stepping back, but he's still hitting and making it happen. I've learned how to step back and still hit versus just running towards it. And I think it's something that, if your listeners are listening to, hopefully they can relate to some nugget that I'm saying, because we all have self-doubt, we self-sabotage, we doubt our self-worth at times, but then we also, in the decision-making process, it's a 3-step process, ask, make, and take. A lot of times we don't really ask, like, what's the problem? We just make a decision and act real quick, like road rage. My wife will be driving down the road, give you the finger, and I'm like, dude, they're like, he doesn't look to see that, hey, he was really built, right? And it comes up to a park, and it's happened like 3 times.
And you're sitting at the stoplight right next to each other.
And you're a giant compared to my wife. So it's like, come on, babe. So, I think my mindset is I've slowed it, even though it still moves very fast, right? Going in, kicking indoors. I've learned how to process things much smoother, transition, ask, make, take, right? You can't leave vital steps out of anything. Think about like just doing a lift, a proper lift. Like if you do a clean, if you're teaching, there are steps that you have to do. And if you don't do it right, there's going to be ramifications. All I did is I took what I learned from the SEAL teams, combat and all the stuff we used to do, and I just transitioned it over into the civilian world, because men, women, we all have 3 battlefields of life. We have the internal battlefield, which is the internal struggle, business and home, right? Business and home. That's where you have problems. We all know that the 4 pillars of success that we should are teamwork, problem solving, leadership, and communication. But then we infuse that with my 4 F-bombs, my family, my fitness, my finances, and my faith. And the faith doesn't even have to be believing in him. I tell people, if you want to be successful, you have to believe in yourself. Like I have a shirt that I wear whenever I'm on stage. I wear it all the time. It says, I bet on me. So many people, the mindset they have is like, I don't play the lottery. When I go to Vegas, I don't gamble. Just don't. I'll gamble. I'll gamble on myself. I'll play the lottery on myself. I'm not waiting for, people are like, oh man, you're I can't believe you won the lottery. It's luck. You didn't do anything. It's luck. But you can also go out and create your own luck. That's what I do. So that's where I've changed. I used to wish and want. Now I make and take. I make and take action. If you start making and taking and really believing in yourself and focusing on the fundamentals that I talked about, the 3 battlefields, the 4 F-bombs and the 4 pillars.
Yeah. I like that.
Become unstoppable. That's the thing. You can't kill someone that refuses to die. You can't. That's why they call me the Cockweed. I have a shirt that says I identify as a Cockweed. Tim Kennedy and Eric Anders called me that. They put me through one of their fucking CrossFit workouts, and I literally laying there on the ground, and you could hear my heartbeat. I was going to die. These guys are like world-class athletes, and Tim pokes me with a stick, and I just go like this, and he's like, you're like a fucking cockweed. I'm like, what? He's like, you're half garden, half cockroach, half garden weed. Think about it. You step on a cockroach, it doesn't die. You pull that weed, right?
Yeah, it comes back.
Coming back. So when I speak now, I tell people, develop the cockweed mindset. I can't be stopped. I can't be killed. I'll find a way. And once you do that, that's what's going to set you above the rest, right? I'll give you an example. I just got off the phone before I talked to you. The CEO, his name's Jeff of Everbowl. You ever heard of Everbowl? It's an IE place. They have about 90 locations in the country. My daughter applied for the job. I know the boss, very wealthy. Hey, I mean, the founder of it, right?
You're right.
And she showed up. I said, I'm going to teach you how to stand above the rest. So she wore like a nice long dress when other girls look like shit. No offense. She was very, filled out the application, did everything. And then after she applied for the job, I had her fill out a thank you. Now she didn't get the job. And I was bummed. And I asked him why. And he goes, you know what? I'm going to find out. And the only reason she didn't get the job is because they were looking for someone with more hours. But he said in 3 weeks, they're going to ask her for a job. So what I did even farther after that, and this is what more people need to start doing, is when you don't, like case in point, I know you do coaching. I don't just pick anybody. Like even if they have the money for my coaching things, I don't have to accept them. I don't have to be your friend. I don't have to, and you don't have to do all your things. But what you should do as a leader who looks out and up, you're a visionary, is instead of down and in, is I said, my daughter's name is Nyla. I said, Nyla, you didn't get the job, right? They were like, sorry, you didn't get the job. They left, it was an email. I said, baby, write them and ask why. Like, so many people don't take it far enough. They don't go deep enough. Like, if there's something, I'll give you an example. You have a goal and dream. Like, I want to be a Navy SEAL. Why did, like, not you, right? You did it. Why didn't you do it? Well, what? Well, what? Well, I just thought it'd be hard. I'm like, and the thing I tell people with the mindset is, like, and these are people, right? You've heard as well as I have. That's their dream, their goal in life.
Yeah.
And if you're so quick to give up on your fucking dreams in life, the real question, JP, the real question is, what things are you giving up on that you don't even realize? You know,
Right.
like, and that's the mindset. And people tell me, and I know you've heard too, you're extreme, you're over the top. So be it. The people that need to understand me, they do. And you know why? Because every single person I surround myself with is bigger, better, faster, and stronger than me. I surround myself, and I don't pick people who are just rich. I pick people who are subject matter experts as shmees at everything they do in their life. Because how else am I going to get better, right? There's only one man who created everything, and he's up there somewhere. What I do, man, we used to wear the H gear, and you have different pieces of equipment in there. I'm going to learn something from you. I'm going to put it in that tool bag. I'm going to learn something from somebody else. And when I learn it, damn right, I'm going to use it. Like if you give me CrossFit tips, because I'm lifting again and stuff, like, hey man, I got tennis elbow. You'll tell me? I'm an idiot if I don't listen to you. And the problem is so many people are so quick to dismiss things that they think they really want. And the question is, like, I'm going to just go back to buds. That kind of keeps being my focal point is, 148 of us started. We only had like 9 original make it. We had like 50 make it, but 9. It's the difference between the want and the need. But I take it beyond that, right? Because I'll ask people, raise your hand. Who wants to be successful, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not enough. You have to be 1000% obsessed. Obsessed. You didn't become a SEAL because you wanted to, because you needed to. You did it because you were fucking obsessed with it. You became a firefighter because you were obsessed with it. You married a woman that you have no business being with, just like I did. No offense, I've seen your wife. And I mean that because you were obsessed with making it happen. I told my wife the first night I met her at the tuna. Shut up. That's on a Monday night.
Not a Wednesday.
I told her, you're going to be my wife. And she was like, biggest pickup line I have. Because here's the thing, and this is what I want your audience to know. When you fucking know, you know.
Yeah.
I can't describe it. Like, I knew that I would be a Navy SEAL. Now, I knew it was going to take a lot of work. I knew that I was going to become an entrepreneur and make a certain amount of money. When you know, and when you infuse that with betting on yourself and like just, being the cockweed, refusing to die, refusing to give up, refusing to fucking settle.
Yeah.
You can't do, man. Like, case in point, you know how I'm going to end up probably having a heart attack and dying? Competing against a frogman, doing something like CrossFit with a guy that I know is better shape than me, or doing jiu-jitsu, or doing the things that I love, because I am 53 as far as paper goes, but in my mind, I'm not. I refuse.
Yeah.
Like, people ask me, what's your goal and dream? I will be the next Jack LaLanne. Do you know who that is?
Yeah. Yeah. Hell yeah.
For those that don't know, was the juicer. He died at like 86 or 87. He would pull tractor trailers wearing a Sergio Tecatani. He was actually a very well-known chiropractor too. I'm not going to be a chiropractor. I don't have the brains for that, but he just lived the life.
Yeah.
It wasn't.
And you know what's crazy about Jack is that he put out videos and that today are still relevant. And it's like,
Well,
yeah, it's all
to the basics, just I honestly believe that the world is so freaking complicated that if you want to succeed, you just need to learn how to keep it basic. You mean 7 points of performance shooting. I don't know I was a SEAL, right? I don't know the first
Yeah.
thing about ballistics. I own a gun company.
Yeah.
9 millimeter takes 9 millimeter, 100 and some grain. Just lower the grain, the lower, you want higher grain. I got it. Other than that, barometric pressure. I wasn't a sniper. Were you a sniper?
Yeah, it was.
See, I don't know that shit. If it's windy, I'm just going to call it an airstrike. There's two ways to skin the cat versus, your Kentucky wind and shit over here.
Yeah.
That works for me. And what I tell people that, especially if, you've got an audience is I never dismiss ideas, right? My mind says I will always, even if you want to tell me something, I've already heard it. I'm going to listen to it again because you may say something in a way that it relates to me, right?
Yeah.
There's instructors that I want to work with and I'll pay with, and there's instructors that I wouldn't have them pay me to work with them. It's all in how you show up, man. And I think that's half the battle, showing up like, I'm looking at you, you're looking at me, life resume. Here it is, right?
Right.
There ain't no fat, there ain't a gut down here. There ain't a gut. There's no gut.
Yeah.
At 53. But I also won't allow people to give me props I don't need. I'll give you an example. I know I'm talking a lot here.
No, it's all good.
One of my biggest pet peeves is this. You look great for 53. It's as simple as this. I either look great or I don't.
Right.
You look great for no. Don't put me in a category of greatness, then compartmentalize it with age. It's
Right.
either wow. I want someone to look at me and go, holy shit, I get it a lot. You're 53? Yeah. When did you get in shape? At birth. I started working out in 10th, 9th grade of high school because I was getting picked on.
Yeah.
And I realized that, I started building confidence because this is your life resume. I don't care what you say, JP. I've known you for over 20 years. When you first met your now wife, you were not attracted to her personality. You weren't attracted to her mind. You were attracted to her resume, which was her body, right? Hair, the nails. My wife batted her
Right.
eyes.
That's the initial. Yeah. That's the
But
initial.
then
drug.
you got to
Yeah.
go in, and then the levels and the layers, the depth, right, of the discipline that if she's a mother, like my wife was already a mother, and this and that, and then do your cultures align and do your beliefs align, and then all this. I mean, I see couples that get married that one's a Democrat and one's a Republican, and one's a diehard this, and I don't want that. Like, I want to marry somebody that has the same values as me, or
Right.
will at least be able to agree to disagree on things. But, it's insane just how I see how this country has changed. Think how much this country has changed since me and you were in teams.
Yeah. It's crazy.
We go out in a Conex box, and I know what's going to happen. You're going to end up whooping my ass, but still, I would take my ass whooping. We would probably not talk, and then afterwards be like, dude, can we just go get a beer and just drop this now?
That's so
Now it's everybody's trying to screw everybody over, take the tridents from them. It's like,
Yeah. Yeah.
just,
I asked a couple buddies about this. I was like, back in the day, yeah, you would go out in the Connex box, whatever, take care of it. But like nowadays, it's like somebody's getting fired left and right. Somebody's, selling somebody else out, this and that. And it's just like, it's not what it used to be. It's still, I mean, guys in the teams are awesome. They're getting after it. It's a little bit different nowadays.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
there's no more roach coaches and just going at La Fiesta. Now it's like they have health food and all this. We just, you work with what you have,
Right.
I mean, look at the gear that we had. We get in a bivy sack and die because you would like sweat to death and then freeze. Now they've got like climate control. It's
Oh yeah. Yeah. Everybody's got nods. Everybody's got like the latest gear. They've got, it's pretty nuts. You look at the amount of technology in the last 20 years that the platoons have now. And it's just like, it's mind blowing. And the kind of stuff that they can do now is insane.
Oh, and I'm
But
not saying we don't have badasses still in the teams. I'm just saying we had badasses in the teams that didn't have a fraction of what they have now. You work with,
oh yeah, for sure.
you know, I think now it's very easy. I mean, I can shoot a gun around a corner now if I want with my, it's insane the things that we have. So, but the message I think to everybody is just the mindset. Like if I can keep honing in on one thing, it starts with like my four F bombs are kind of like a house, right? Think of the foundation and the faith, whether that's believing in you have to believe in yourself. But if you want to believe in a higher power, I don't want to get into that with anyone. But you could have a $2 million house, right? But if you have a shitty foundation, what happens to that house eventually? It crumbles.
Right.
So we focus on the foundation of believing in yourself, man. Like if and I'm real big on, we have this thing in the SEAL teams called a dive buddy, I still have a dive buddy. It's my wife. She'll push me to the ledge when I need a little extra push, but then she'll pull me off the ledge when I want to do something stupid, like buy me. She's like, oh, So that's the mentality that I have. I take a lot of the lessons that I learn in teams from the platoons and stuff, and I apply it to the house. I mean, when me and my wife are driving, I'll be like, hey, how are we good? She's like, clear right. She'll call
Yeah,
all sides, my daughter, she'll be, do it when we go for walks. I'm not going to get this.
that's
But,
great with the
but,
sign language.
but it's my point is what I've developed and learned, crafted and mastered. I'd be a selfish prick if I didn't pass it on to them. Now, do they use it all the time? No, but I want them to have those same tools in the tool bag if they can. My daughter's 16. She can shoot. My wife's doesn't matter how old, she can shoot, right? So I'd rather them have it, not need it, than not have it and or have it or not have it and need it. So it's that simple. And that's just how I look at things. People are like, I can't believe your daughter does jujitsu. If you're going to attack a woman, you're either going to knock her out and she's going to fall to the ground, or you're going to try to take her to the ground. So
Yeah.
I refuse to be a statistic or a victim. And I refuse for my family, the ones I love. And if people can't get in with that on that bandwidth, then I don't need them.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if you've seen the specials, and I watch how I talk about this, but the sexual predators. You know how a lot of times they gauge who they're going to go after. They look at the male role model in the family. And
I've heard that.
Yeah, it's true. There was I can't remember his name. There was that thing on it. So as a man, as a father, even if you don't have a family, your job is to prepare now for that, right? Physically, because there's 6 forms of growth: physical, mental, emotional, social, spiritual, and financial growth, right? Our job as men, I don't know if is your crew all men?
Yeah. Yeah.
All men. Our job is to become the savage servant. Case in point, right? If I was coming at you and your family, imagine this: you're sitting right there, okay, right where you're at. You're sitting on a park bench, and your wife's playing with the kids in the grass about 15 feet away from you, in front of you. Obviously, you're watching them, right? And you see somebody like me walking at them in an aggressive manner. What are you going to do? I'm not saying anything to them, but what would you do?
Oh, I'm definitely getting up and putting myself in between them.
In between, right? And if we go to battle with each other, see, people think it's because you're a savage. It's not. It's because you're a servant. So the savage is what comes out, but the servant is what steps up, right? I talk about that, the double-edged sword, the savage servant. I actually have my seal knife over here that Andy from Half Face made me. And the point is, and I don't know how you did it, but you asked her, she chose you, right? I don't know. Did you take a knee? Could you still take a knee and ask her?
Yeah,
I have to like bend down, right? I asked her. I mean, look, there's my wife right there, right?
Yeah.
You asked her, she chose you. And when she chose you because you have duties and responsibilities as a man that you must do. And society has allowed these men nowadays to not have to perform as much. That's unacceptable, and that's why certain men stand out in a crowd more than others. It's because, and you'll see it. couple years ago, they were playing that knockout game. When I don't know if you heard about, the kids were walking around and knocking people out. That
Yeah.
was 7 years ago. There was like five guys in front of me, and we were in Maryland. A couple guys were like giving them crap, blah blah blah. And I'm walking with my wife and always keep her on the inside and this and that. And they were talking trash to them. And they looked at me, and it was about five of them. They said, "Hey, what's up?" And I'm like, "Let's go, man." And they left me alone. And my wife said, "How come they'll mess with five guys and not you?" And the guys were bigger than me. I'm like, "Because they know that I'm ready." And it wasn't disrespectful. I didn't give them like the look. It was just enough. They saw me move her and stuff. I'm ready. I'm ready. And average men are not willing to deal with a savage servant. They're not.
Totally.
So you have to be prepared. That's why I'm doing I do 2 hours a day of jiu-jitsu, and I still have to go to the gym after this day. And I have 2 hours of wrestling practice tomorrow, which is killing me.
I love it, dude.
But
That's
I'm going to sit
awesome.
here and tell you the truth, JP. I got injured a few years ago. I finally got stem cell, but I became a victim. Hey, I'm getting older. I don't need to be in shape. Blah, blah, blah. And Mitch Aguiar, right? Mitch?
I don't. I mean, I might, but
The old smashing frog, big fighter. He was like, "Bro, you got the money. You got the stem cell. You feel good." He said, it'd be like you talking to me. He's like, "You're a fucking hypocrite." And it hurt, man. And like, listen, when you're wrong, right? Like,
yeah,
it was just like, not that mentioned he could kick my ass. And I was like, "You're right." I said, "What do I do?" He's like, "You get your ass in here and you start training every day." I mean, I've already gotten 2 stripes. I mean, I'm addicted. He says, "You should be addicted. We're disciplined junkies." He's like, 4 stripes, another belt, 4 stripes, another belt. He's like, you've been doing it your whole life. And I peaked. So after I get, I'll get my black belt. I'll see you in 8 years. After that, it's got to be something else. I'm never going to stop.
yeah,
Neither can you. Like, you'll be 80 years old and fucking doing CrossFit and killing people. And that's the thing. I guarantee I can put you in an event and you're crushing kids half your age. I know you can. I know you will. Nothing is changed with you. You're still the same guy that won't quit, won't die, and won't stop. And when you start that, you start learning, earning, and burning every day. There's nothing you can't do. You can afford the expensive watches in this if you want that, but you have to dial yourself in first. That's it.
yeah. No, I agree with that, man. I mean, I think you hit on a lot of things about it's all in the mindset, right? Just not quitting. And even like, I feel like a lot of people look at SEALs and like, oh wow, like Navy SEALs, this and that. And, but really it's the mindset that was created in us, or I don't know if you're like born with it or what, but like you go through some shit. And you develop this mindset and it's hammered into you about being in the teams and this and that. You're working around other high performing individuals that you can't help but learn to live that way. And then when it goes away, you were talking about this too, like a little bit of a struggle of like trying to find yourself and like, I'm not around those people. And then that don't quit mindset comes back up and it's like, okay, I'm going to figure this out. I'm going to make this work. However it takes. But it can be challenging, that's for sure.
I think we all have it. I think we're just the few that have been chosen or lucky or blessed enough to have found that mindset that we have. I think we all have it. It's like the seed. I honestly feel in my head there's like a seed back here, and through pain and through trauma and through turmoil, it's like we nick away at it, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of people, after the pain stops, they just, if that hurts, I'm not going to do it anymore. But a few of us just, whether it's self-induced or it's external, abuse in relationships or whatever, it just keeps coming. And then when it hits that seed, it just grows. And then and I will tell this right now to someone, when you achieve something, no matter how big or small, it becomes addicting. Like I tell a lot of because I have a coaching group too. And I tell guys, you want to get in shape, give it about a month. And then when you put on something and all of a sudden it just feels a little tighter, or Mama Bear goes, damn, it's worth it. Like think about the pain we went through. All I did was when I got that trident, that's all that mattered. Even that sucked getting it. you know, jumping in the water. I mean, we were at the same
Yeah.
place, getting out and getting your ass handed to. And the question is the struggle worth the success? And I'm here to tell you, fuck yeah, it is.
Yeah.
No matter how big or small. Like, you don't have to be a Navy SEAL, literally. Be the Navy SEAL of whatever it is you do in your life. Be the tier one operator. Be the subject matter expert. Be the person that literally is like, and be the best at what you do. Like, I've got a buddy of mine next door that works in finance. He's like, man, I always wanted to be a Navy SEAL, but he makes a fortune. I'm like, dude, you make a great money. Yeah, but I'm like, be the best at it. Like, don't just go into you have a job making huge six figures. You were blessed. There's people that literally have nothing, and you're complaining because you wish you were something else, or you tell them, hey, go try to get a waiver and do it. Well, that'd be stupid. Well, then shut up, man. Shut up. Make the most out of what you have. Most people, need to learn and understand they should be grateful for what they have, not greedy. Um,
True.
and stop living. And the last piece of advice I'll give you is stop living like Al Bundy, right? All he talks about was what he did back in the day. Like when I get up and speak, and I love a lot of the other team guys, they'll get up there, they have 45 minutes to talk. They'll tell you who they are for 30 minutes. Like, do your research. This is who I am. This is why I'm here. Let's get to work. Like, I'm here to work. Like, I love the Sean Ryan. I love Sean. I know Sean's real last name. Everybody's like, go on Sean Ryan show. I don't want to talk about what I've done. If you want to talk about what I'm doing or where I'm going, yes. That's not sexy. What's sexy is firefights and this. And at teams, I didn't have any. I don't lie. I didn't.
Yeah.
Got a few things in the CIA, but we don't talk about it. But what am I doing now? I'm changing lives. I'm working with kids, working with fathers, working with entrepreneurs, doing this, doing that, giving to churches. That's the shit that matters, man. And the
Sure, man.
that you wear is who made you who you are now,
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. It's funny because you talk about that, and, sometimes I have this internal struggle where it's like, I want to talk about the teams, or, people actually, I would say more people want me to talk about the teams than I want to talk about the teams.
Yeah.
Because they find it fascinating, and this, and it's like, yeah, like that's a part of my life, but like what I'm focused on and what I'm trying to do right now, like it's a part of that because there's a lot of lessons from being in the teams and playing high level sports and stuff like that. But it's like, that's a part of my life. But then there's also like being a dad, there's, playing sports, there's all these other things that have created who I am today. Right. But everybody always just wants to go back to the teams thing. And it's like, there's an internal struggle. It's like, okay, how much do I want to talk about that? And how much is it, necessary to talk about? Right. Because there is some valuable lessons, but there's valuable lessons in everyday activities. Right. So
you said it, man.
I hear you.
Yeah.
So speaking of that, right? You're a husband, you're dad, right? Like, what are some of the things that you do when you feel like maybe I fucked that up, right? How do you deal with some of those setbacks?
Well, I guess it depends on the severity of the setback. I mean, are we talking like snapping at a wife? Are you talking about what? Be more specific.
I would say like something that maybe feels like, oh shit, I shouldn't have done that, or like it was a failure in some way that you're feeling down on yourself. Like, how do you bounce back from that, I guess?
Well, I mean, as a husband, me and my wife have my wife's my best friend. So, she sees sides of me that no one else will, right? I'm not going to be crying on her shoulder watching Steel Magnolias and shit. But, there are times when, I think a true strength, a true man's strength is when he can be vulnerable and when he can admit mistakes. So, I think there's a time and a place for it. But I think I know that when if I fuck up, if I make a failure, I don't mind failing, right? And I'm the biggest quitter that you've ever met, but I quit the right things, not the wrong things. Or meaning the right things that I quit were like drinking and other things like that. And the wrong things are just throwing in the towel in marriage when things get bad. But for me, it's all about communication. When things go bad, a lot of times we bottle it up. And then next thing you know, when they actually think we're exploding, we're actually imploding. So for me, when I fail or I do something, I'm real big on having AARs, daily or weekly
Yeah.
after report. I know you know what that is, but it's kind of like a weekly review on things. And that's really helped me out. But I mean, because listen, man, JP, you know, you know, success is failing until there's no hesitation. Like
Yeah.
I'm gonna fail. I'm just not gonna quit on myself. I've lost astronomical amounts of money. That's been hard on investments and things like this. I mean, anybody that tells you they don't fail, they don't struggle, they're full of shit.
Right.
Just what are they willing to divulge? But you have to have an outlet, not an out, not a punching bag, an outlet, someone that you can, discuss things with and like get outside perspectives. And I have a few mentors like that too, but I'm real big on that because if I bottle it up, man, I start going crazy. And then I start what ifing, right? Why is this guy?
Yeah.
Why is that? Yeah. What if? And when you start what if and you start doubting yourself, and the biggest piece of advice I could say is nip it in the butt before the self-talk and the self-sabotaging kicks in. That's what I try to do because that's what the inner voice is going to take. The inner voice becomes a bitch. So it's all about just controlling the narrative as much as you can. And then once you do that, I feel that it opens up other avenues. Your peripheral opens up wider and it just gives you a different perspective and outlook. And then when you do that, okay, I'll bounce back. I'm back at it. I mean, I got the whiteboard right there. Believe me, I'm writing shit all the
Yeah.
time. What's so great about erasing is you can always write it back up there, right? So that's what I do.
Yeah. No, it's true. When you say controlling the narrative, I mean, it's our thoughts, right? Our thoughts control everything. And if you think negative about something, you're just going to have negative feelings, negative actions, right? If you're learning like what's the bright side or what's the lesson here, and you're going to progress and you're going to have positive action from that, right? Speaking on like discipline, fitness, even high performance. So obviously you train, look at you, right? And you got your shit dialed in. What are like some of the current, I guess, non-negotiables for you? You kind of mentioned them a little bit, but like that keeps you dialed in, keeps you going.
Well, I mean, everything that I do is I just apply the key component to what is success. It's committing and staying consistent. So I do that with everything. I believe in time phase training, time phase with everything. So, I get up and, let's say I come up with a nutrition plan, right? I'll do that for 90 days. I'll get up the same time. I'll eat the same fucking thing. I'll make sure I hit the gym, make sure I'm doing this, and I'll adapt. And after those 90 days, I'll do that AAR assessment on myself and I'll tweak and modify. And when I'm tweaking and modifying, and here's what you need to understand. Like, have you ever been hurt or injured? Right? Yeah.
Of
Yeah.
course.
I have.
Yeah.
So you need to understand that sometimes you have to take one step back to take 10 steps forward.
All right.
But I just, I dive my plan and I plan my dive, right? Plan my dive, dive my plan. You heard that? And I'm always ready for a contingency, meaning I'm always going to have to flex. There's no such thing as a perfect anything.
Right. Right.
But is like I said, how do I stay disciplined? I'm a control freak. I control what I put in my body, what comes out of my body to a point, right? When I go to the bathroom, I control what I wear, who I surround myself with, and I control my attitude and the effort that I put forth. Because to be a part of a team, a real team, there has to be trust, effort, attitude, and a mission, right? You got to trust in yourself, trust in your brothers, trust in whatever the obstacle is that you want to accomplish. Trust that you can do it. Trust is the easiest thing to lose and the hardest thing to build up. Effort. Just don't put a number on it. Don't cap it out. Give me everything you got. Attitude. There's two kinds. You either show up with a good or bad. Nothing will open and close the door faster in business and life than a good or bad attitude. And M is mission. Mission is growth. You figure out what that is. And once you hone that in and you become like team Ray, that team care, we're just unstoppable. I keep using that word, unstoppable. It's my favorite word. Like, we're unstoppable.
Yeah, dude, it's a great word.
We're making moves. We're making money. We're making a difference. That's what it's about.
Yeah. for sure. Now, what about the guy that says, I don't have time? What do you say to that guy?
I tell him he's full of shit. Go to bed earlier, get up earlier. I mean, the thing is, people that don't have time, what they really don't have, which you have to ask yourself is, you're right. You don't have time. You don't have time to keep doing what the fuck you're doing, right? Time is the most precious commodity we have. It's unknown. We all know that we're going to get older and we're going to die, but we don't know when. So my thing is get up every day, change the narrative. I honestly feel that the fitter you are, the longer you live. So you're telling me you can't put 20 minutes a day into that? I guarantee I could write a journal with them for 2 weeks and I could literally free up 2 hours of their day. It's all about, sequence and transitioning. You know this, right? How we flow in the house. You just have to have flow. Most people don't flow. They don't work effectively. They go here, then here, then here, where it should go here and here and here and here and here. And you say, you're wasting time. You're not being efficient, productive. So that's where we're at. And that's what we do. And, I'm always, like I said, and that's where it comes back to sharpening that blade of the savage and the servant. You've got to sharpen it, right? The analogy, a samurai warrior will sharpen his sword and hang it on the wall when he's done with it. But guess what he does? Every day he continually sharpens it, even when no one's using it. And one time his wife asked, why do you sharpen your blade if you're no longer a warrior? Because one day I may need it, but I don't know if I don't look at it if someone else used it. So you always have to stay ready. Like shooting is a perishable skill. I go to the range once a week. I haven't been a SEAL since 1990. I got out in 2004. I mean, that's 20 years ago, but I still shoot, So I'm ready. Look, just in case you get crazy, I'm ready.
Ready to go.
Just in case someone comes, I'm ready. Look, I still got my frog right there, man. I'm ready.
Hell yeah.
So
that's awesome, dude.
Man, that's what I got. That's how we get shit done.
Yeah. That's great. When it talks about leading your family, right? We get tired, we get stressed. Sometimes we get distracted.
Yeah.
How do you keep going?
I keep going because I know where I've come. I know how far I've come, and I think you set simple goals and rules. Like case in point, what is one of the biggest stress factors that families have in a house? Money. Don't talk about money in front of your children. I don't yell at my wife in front of a kid. I mean, the other things, there's times and places and segments for it. My daughter goes to bed at a certain time. That's when me and my wife will talk. But if it's super negative, it'll wait because I don't like to go to bed angry. I don't want to go to bed angry and then die. I want to go to bed like the perfect world. I'd have sex with my wife every night before I went to bed. Perfect world. For a certain time, that don't happen when you've been married 20 years. After a certain,
right.
But seriously, I would. But yeah, it's how do you deal with it? By knowing how far you've come. That's what I do. Like case in point, like if things are bad, I've been through worse. You've been through worse.
Yeah.
I mean, the story we're talking about there's a reason why you're still here, after what happened to you and what's happened to me. I mean, we're here for a reason. So what is that reason? We may never know, but our job is to seek and search every day until we get as close as we can to it. Like we're chasing the pot of gold. We're never going to hit it, but we can sure have a fun ride doing it, and I want to create more success and generational wealth for my family and to help out with churches and help people and kids. And I'm not going to stop, man. And I don't care if, I tell people get on the Ray Cash Care Train or get run over because I'm not stopping. I'm not going to stop, I won't.
Oh, I love it.
I can't. I can't. I owe it to everyone that's supported me through the years. And I owe it to myself to, I'm not going to be a quitter of me. I won't do it.
Yeah. No, I love it, dude. That's a powerful message, just not stopping and believing in yourself, betting on yourself. Like that's huge, because if you can't do it, who else is going to do it? Right.
That's right. I'm telling you, they're not. They'll say they will. They're waiting and watching and wanting you to fail to see how you react. I fail. I just wipe myself off. Sometimes I don't even dust myself off. I just get back up. Let's go again. They're getting punched in the face. All right. If you keep hitting me with a jab, if I don't cover, what's going to happen? Eventually it's going to put me down or I'm going to learn from it. Right. I listen and I learn. I don't lose unless I quit on quit on myself. So I've got
Good
to
one.
do,
Yeah.
I'm gonna do my things. You see a little movement that baby. Come on.
Oh yeah. Speaking of jabbing and covering, I remember the smokers, that tall dude that you got put up against, and he had some length on you, and he was basically jabbing, and then you just came in with this overhand right and just knocked him out. That was such a great memory.
That's right. 50 call. They called me 50 cal afterwards. Whoa. But
Yeah, that
that's
was
how you got to be, man. Listen, we're no strangers to being outgunned and overmanned and oversized, but how do we still win? It's the power of just knowing what you're capable of, taking off the governor and just fucking letting loose, man. That's what you got to do. People just live each day to the fullest. That's what I do. I mean, when I get off the phone with you, I'm gonna go work out. I mean, I got a bunch of shit going on with work right now, but after that, working out, you know.
really,
And tomorrow I've got my wrestling, and then Sunday we got our church. It's like, and yeah, I'm just gonna be the best version of me as long as I can do it till I can't do it anymore, and then hopefully I've made such an impact, I'll pass the torch over to someone else.
yeah, no, for sure. I know you're. I mean, I've seen some of your videos and everything that you're doing, and it's inspiring, and even somebody that's lived a similar life. That it's like I listen to you talk, and I'm like, dude, Ray's firing me up, man. I love it, and it's. I think when you have that kind of impact, and and I'm sure you've had this happen to you, where like people they say that, you inspired me, or, you've done this to me, or because of you said this or this, whatever, like I've now done this. It's like such a good feeling, like as a coach, as a man, where you've been able to help somebody transform, whether it be physically, mentally, whatever it is. It's such a good feeling, and something that I chase and that I'm after, that I'm like, I want to help as many men as possible, because I think there's a big struggle. I think that, a lot of guys, they struggle with business, family, fitness, and just trying to juggle it all. Right. And that's the whole point of the highly effective man. And then talking about, surrounding yourself with other people, like that's the whole point of the community, is because when I left the teams, that was the one thing that I missed the most, was being around the guys, the talking shit,
Yep.
the having, the fun, just the conversations like we're having right now,
Yep.
and just the good times. And having a brotherhood is, I think, an important piece to your success. You were talking about, like, you surround yourself with guys that are more successful than you because they're going to push you, right? And
Oh yeah.
I think that's super important, right? And getting that message out and just being with people like that.
Yeah, definitely.
Cool. I've got a couple last minute questions here. So more like rapid fire. So like, what's
All right,
the
I'm ready.
hardest workout you ever done?
Hardest workout I've ever done? The Viking.
What's the Viking?
It's a 5,000-meter row, 150 tire swings with a 20-pound sledge each arm, mile and a half run, back to the hammers, back to the row, and I did that in Bagram at high noon. It killed me.
Nice. I'll have to look that one up. I like that.
It's actually, we made it over at the agency. I've got it if you want it. I've got a couple of them like that I can send you.
Yeah. That'd be great. Send it over. I'll have some of the guys in the community do it with me. Yeah.
Greg Klein created. I don't know if he was still at the team when you were there. Greg or you, Dodge. Greg Klein, who's a SEAL, did it at SDV.
Yeah. You know what drives me nuts is that when I was in Virginia Beach, right? Like, obviously a lot of the team guys, like, we all hang out a lot and we get to know each other really well. But then when I left Virginia Beach, we didn't have like social media. We didn't have all that stuff.
Yeah, I know.
I left in 2002, and it's like I lost contact with so many guys, and names come up, faces come up. I'm like, man, I know this guy from somewhere, but I can't, place him, and it drives me nuts.
Yeah.
But favorite quote or mantra?
Man in the Arena.
Nice.
Man in the Arena by Teddy Roosevelt.
Hell yeah. That's a great speech for sure.
Yeah.
What would you say is your best lesson from failure?
My best lesson from failure. Is that there's always tomorrow. I failed so hard. I mean, there's been times when I've literally wanted to just throw in a towel. I failed so much, but you just get up tomorrow and it's a fresh start, man. Every day's a blessing.
I love it. What's one thing every man should do before 7 a.m.?
50 push-ups.
Nice. A book every man should read.
The Bible.
Yeah. This is great, man. Well, Ray, I appreciate it, man. You and we go way back.
Oh, yeah, man.
I have some great memories with you, and it's awesome to see like what you're doing now and seeing the impact that you're having on people. I see, clips here and there, and then, we catch up here and there, which is awesome. It's just great to actually get this to make it happen, and just see you. We're both a little bit older, but still kicking ass, and I love it, dude. This was amazing. And if you could leave, every man that's listening to this, right? Everybody that listens to this podcast, what's one message that you would say that they need to hear today? What would it be?
Believe in yourself because you can do it. That's it.
Oh, yeah.
So simple, man. The power of belief will crush all.
Nice.
All right.
All right, guys. If this episode fired you up, listen to Ray, do the work, don't quit, bet on yourself. And if you like this episode, share it with somebody that you think needs to hear this. Thanks for listening to the Highly Effective Man podcast. I'm your host, JP. Ray, thank you again. I love it. Great to see you. And let's go. Oh. Thank you for listening to the Highly Effective Man podcast. If you enjoyed or learned something on this episode, do me a favor and share this with somebody who you think needs to hear it. And one last thing, if you want to work with me as your coach to help you get fit, be more productive, and in general, just be the most effective version of yourself, head over to my site, higherlevelcoaching.co. Once again, that's higherlevelcoaching.co, and schedule a call with me there. Thank you again. Let's go.